Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm Canadian photographer Randall M. Rueff, and today is Friday, December the 2nd, 2016 AD, and we're looking at the Hasselblad X1D-50c 4116 edition medium format mirrorless digital camera with 45mm lens. Here's the kicker though, baby. $12,995. So basically $13,000. Ooh. Now, let me tell you first about mirrorless. Mirrorless cameras are the future. And they're not the present, at least on the high end, because of the price, as you can see. Now, there are some cheaper pocket cameras out there you can get for several $100s. But this is a high-end camera. This is 50 megapixels by today's standard, high resolution. I'm sure in a few years it won't be 50 megapixels, won't be nothing. But right now, 50 megapixels, pretty big deal, especially in a mirrorless camera. 16-bit color, 14 dynamic stop dynamic range, natural color selection, full HD 1080p. 25 frames. Now that's not too impressive. The 1080p is nice. The fact that it's only at 25 frames per second, not so impressive. Being that it's not 4K, and at this price point, I would expect it 4K and 4K at 30 frames or 60 frames. In fact, it doesn't have that. In fact, it has 1080p at only 25 frames. Not too impressed with the video. Now, is that going to be okay? Yeah, it's going to be okay, but it's not. There's not going to be a lot of professionals digging this because of the only 25 frames per second at 1080p. A lot of people are wanting 4K now or more, and for this price point, I don't see a lot of people buying this. I really don't. Now, the reason a lot of people, or some people might want this is because of the 50 megapixels medium format mirrorless. Now, there's not going to be any shutter noise. That's a big thing. No shutter noise. Is it worth 13 grand to have no shutter noise? Yeah, it's a matter of opinion. Personally, I don't think so. Is it when you consider everything else? Is mirrorless at this price point good when you consider everything else that comes with it? It's for you to decide. First of all, let's look at some of the other pictures of the camera itself. Nothing real impressive, just basic. This isn't going to be your high-speed Canon or Nikon camera. This is going to be your high-end, set up your... This isn't going to be a sports or wildlife camera. This is going to be I've got a product, I'm sitting on a table, I'm going to set the lights just right, and then take some pictures. This isn't going to be your high school or college sports camera or wildlife camera. You might be able to do this, maybe weddings. That might be a possibility. But fast action and sports and wildlife is not really going to be where this camera is going to shine. Where this camera is going to shine is high resolution product photography, landscapes, maybe weddings, things of that nature. So now let's talk about the lens. Let's see if we can blow it up. We can't. Ooh. So you got your video settings. You got your 3 custom settings here. You got your standard full auto, your program mode, your shutter priority, your aperture priority, your manual. And then, I don't know what that one is. I don't know. I'm not sure what that one stands for, but 3 customs, video, full auto, program, shutter, aperture priority. Or S is shutter priority, A is aperture priority, and manual is autofocus. Maybe that's ISO. I don't know. No, that's not ISO. It's ISO button over here. ISO and white balance is right there. Autofocus and manual focus is right there. Made in Sweden. That's interesting. Most of the stuff's made in Japan or China, especially Japan. Japan makes a lot of cameras. or they're from there. So very impressive. It's a nice looking camera. I mean, it's very simple. It's very un-high tech looking, is the way I would put it. It looks like a simple camera. Nothing flashy, nothing over the top. But if you're wanting high resolution product photography, landscape photography, again, maybe weddings, this might be a camera for you. And of course, I'm sure you can probably. Remember top view? Oh, there's top view. Okay, yeah, there's top view again. I'm going to assume that plate slides off and you can do some kind of flash or flash connection. I don't know. But it's available. $13,000. That's chummy. That's a chunk of change, people. That is a chunk of change. So, would I buy this camera for me? No. Would I recommend it to somebody else? Depends on what they're doing with it. If they have the money. Personally, I think there's going to be a lot better options with other cameras, both for video and photography. Canon has a 5DSR now that does 50 megapixels, and it's not anywhere near. It's like $2,000, $3,000. So you can probably get 4 of them for the price of this one. So I'm not going to recommend the photo or video. Cameras like the 1DC and the 1DX Mark II can do better 1080p plus 4K. Nikon can do it even though the video's short. So Nikon and Canon both. The only difference is, of course, is the shutter. The shutterless. The mirrorless camera doesn't have any shutter, so it theoretically has the ability to be completely silent or near completely silent, depending on how loud your lenses are when they move and adjust for focusing. And of course, this is a 45mm fixed lens, so you don't have to worry about zooming. But depending on how loud your autofocus system is, which most systems can be very quiet nowadays, you're not going to get a lot of noise, which is what a lot of people want. So, having said that, that's a lot of money for no noise. I mean, seriously, that's the only real feature in this, is the fact that there's going to be very little to no noise, or no noticeable noise, for a price tag of $13,000. And that's a lot of money to pay for that. When you got cameras, again, like the 1DX Mark II, that can do 4K better, and cameras like the 5DSR that can do 50 megapixels, and there's Canon cameras or Nikon that can do 36 megapixels, and all of those are a lot cheaper than this camera. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it based on the price point. But mirrorless cameras are the future, and they're coming. And I personally think I'm looking forward to seeing a camera like this, and many like it in the future when the price comes down to something reasonable for the average person. A high-end camera for the average person. Again, they have mirrorless cameras now for pocket cameras. Obviously, they're only a couple $100, but this is a high-end camera with a high resolution, and I'm sure it's gonna take great pictures. I don't doubt that, but I personally can't, because of the price point and what it does and doesn't have. I personally wouldn't recommend it unless you just really want this camera, which I don't see. I mean, I don't see it. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't recommend anybody else. Because there's so many other options available from Canon and Nikon and Sony and some others. Unless you're in some kind of business where you have to have absolute silence when you take pictures, I wouldn't recommend this. But having said that, it's a very nice camera if you can afford it. So it's just compared to other cameras, at the price point, that's where I consider it a fail. So there you have it. Of course, if you just want to buy it, let's see what the body only stands for. That's a standard edition. Let's put the standard. Okay, well, even okay, there's a standard edition without the lens, with no lens. Which I kind of think great, but that looks. There's the side. That looks a little bit better. This looks more like a traditional Hasselblad camera. But even still, it's $9,000, and there's no lens. So unless you got Hasselblad lenses, no downside. So there you have it. Until next time, I'm Canon for Randall M. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. God bless. See you guys later. And as always, keep taking those pictures. Bye.